The storm rolled over Dallas like a freight train as I watched my father toss my last suitcase onto the wet sidewalk. Their house now, never mine again. The same two-story I'd grown up in for 30 years. I guess blood doesn't matter when you're unemployed. No job, no rent, no more handouts, Dad barked, his voice echoing down the tree-lined street. I'm done bankrolling your little tech hobby. Mom stood behind the screen door, arms folded tight over her lavender shawl. Rachel, honey, please. Just take the analyst role at your uncle's firm. You need stability. I'm not throwing away my startup to push numbers for oil executives, I said, soaked through from the rain. I'm building something. Building what? Dad snapped. Another failed app? It's been 3 years, Rachel. You walked away from Goldman Sachs for this? If only they knew. That little failed app had just landed a global cybersecurity contract. If only they could see the server room tucked inside the brick building they thought was just some co-working space I rented. Brian Patel just bought a house in Highland Park, Mom added, her words like needles. He's your age. Remember when you two... Of course I remembered. Brian had dumped me when I refused to join his father's hedge fund. Told everyone at the club I was wasting my Ivy League education on tech nonsense. Now his father's firm was investing blindly in my own venture, encrypted behind 2 shell funds. And Brian? He'd just been passed over for partner by someone I'd personally recruited. This is your last chance, Dad growled, stepping off the porch, rain running off his coat. Accept the offer at Patel Capital, or get out. I looked at my suitcases, monogram leather they'd given me last Christmas, now soaking in the gutter. One held the prototype of our encryption device, the other the signed LOIs from 3 Fortune 100 companies. All right, I said calmly. I'll leave. Mom made a move to follow, but Dad stopped her. Let her go, Evelyn. She needs to hit bottom before she'll listen. They had no idea I'd already bought the glass high-rise on Pearl Street. They thought I was in between apartments, their sanitized term for failure. They never thought to check who owned Halcyon Technologies, the company quietly acquiring property, patents, and talent all over Texas. The company I built, the building I owned, the future I'd already secured, and I didn't need their approval to claim it. At least take the Camry, Mom begged, gesturing toward the faded sedan still in the driveway. Keep it, I said, unlocking my phone and sending a signal. My real car, a custom-made prototype that cost more than this entire cul-de-sac, turned the corner seconds later, followed by 2 black SUVs. They didn't know about the security team, or the tracker I'd planted in the house last year. Dad snorted. Calling one of your college buddies? No one's gonna shelter your ego, Rachel. No one believes this tech fantasy of yours, he added, just as the soft growl of an imported engine echoed down the street. Mom's eyes widened as a sleek midnight flu vehicle came into view. Not the A4 Camry they assumed was my only ride. Miss Fairchild, my driver called from the open door, using the name I'd built my brand under, my grandmother's maiden name. Your car is ready. Dad blinked. Who? My driver, I said simply, and that, I nodded to the car, is mine. You can't Dad began, then stopped as recognition flickered. Only 10 of those models existed. He'd tried to lease one last spring but was told they were custom held by a private firm. Actually, I said, meeting his gaze, I own the firm. Before they could speak, a second vehicle arrived. Out stepped my executive assistant, holding a black umbrella. Miss Fairchild, the board is on standby. They'll need your signature before the 8 a.m. reveal. Reveal? Mom echoed, voice barely audible. Oh, you'll see it, I said, brushing rain from my cheek. Right outside your office window, Dad. His composure faltered. What are you talking about? Tomorrow, I said, turning toward him. When you look up at the signage above Pierce and Caldwell, you'll notice a new name. I didn't wait for his response. My security team, formerly posing as the lawn crew across the street, emerged and began loading my luggage. Rachel, Mom called after me. Where will you go? I paused at the open car door. Home, Mom. You mean that storage unit? The penthouse, I corrected. Top floor of the Pinnacle building, the one I own. Their stunned faces were delicious, but this was only the appetizer. Because tomorrow morning, as Dad pulled into the law firm he thought he ruled, he'd stare up at a 60-story building bearing the name he tried to bury. Fine. Etched in gold. And it wouldn't be the last time he'd have to say it out loud. The next morning broke bright and sharp, the kind of morning that made headlines. I stood in my real office, the top floor of what would soon be renamed Fairchild Technologies Tower, watching the final crew secure the gleaming new signage. "Miss Fairchild?" my executive assistant Leah said, stepping into the room. "Your parents just pulled into Caldwell and Pierce. They're in the lobby now." I turned to face the wall of monitors, each screen showing a different angle of the law firm across the street. Dad's car was parked in its usual space. Senior partner, stenciled beneath his name. A title, about to vanish in under 5 minutes. "Record everything," I said. "Every camera, every face." Mom had just stepped out of her silver coupe, holding her triple-shot caramel latte from the boutique cafe in the lobby. The one I'd bought last month, along with the cafe. And the building. "Start the announcement," I said quietly. Across the street, the building's PA system clicked on. "Attention all Caldwell and Pierce employees, please proceed to the main lobby for an urgent company announcement." Confusion rippled through the crowd gathering below. Law firms don't do announcements, they schedule depositions, not surprises. "Rachel," a familiar voice echoed. Brian Patel, making a beeline for my parents. "Security mentioned something about your daughter. What's going on?" Before Mom or Dad could answer, the massive LED panels outside the building lit up. 12 of them, spanning 10 stories each. My face appeared across all of them, side by side with the Fairchild Technologies logo. "Good morning, Caldwell and Pierce," my pre-recorded voice rang through the marble atrium. Or should I say, Fairchild Technologies' legal division. Mom's coffee slipped from her hand, splattering across the imported floors I'd personally approved just last week. "Over the past 3 years," my voice continued, "while some assumed I was unemployed or delusional, I was building the world's most advanced AI enterprise. An enterprise that now owns global patents, security infrastructure, and, as of 8:00 IMing today, Caldwell and Pierce." Dad backed toward a column, now bearing my company's seal. From the elevator, Thomas Caldwell emerged, flushed and breathless. "This can't be legal. We would have known." "Would you?" I asked aloud, my live voice now carrying as I stepped into the lobby, flanked by my leadership team. "Just like you knew who controlled Arcadia Holdings? Or who filed those AI patents you've been rubber stamping?" The exterior screens shifted again, now rolling through valuations, global acquisitions, stock charts. Caldwell and Pierce was just the latest name absorbed by a company they'd once mocked. "Ow, mine. Your firm's been processing my patents for 18 months, I said, stepping closer to where my parents stood frozen beneath the glow of my company's logo. "Did either of you ever actually read them?" I asked. "Or were you too busy ridiculing the unemployed daughter of Harold Fairchild to realize you were fueling her empire?" Brian Patel let out a laugh, forced and cracking. "Empire? What empire?" Leah stepped forward holding a sleek tablet. One tap, and every screen in the lobby lit up with new data. Fairchild Technology. Current market valuation, $157 billion, $400 million, 0 cents. Combined global assets, $243 billion, 0 cents. Sectors: AI, cybersecurity, real estate, legal, aerospace. Mom dropped into one of the leather chairs I had personally picked during the lobby's mysterious renovation last month. That's more than," she stammered. "More than Caldwell and Pierce's worth?" I said, meeting Dad's stunned eyes. "Yes, by a factor of about 1,000. I turned toward Brian. "Remember when you said I'd never make it without your family's name? That I was wasting my potential?" The exterior screens changed again, now displaying 2 bars side by side. Rachel Fairchild, net worth $8,100,000,000, 0 cents. Patel family net worth, $32 million, 0 cents. The crowd murmured. Brian's face drained of color. Miss Fairchild, Leah cut in, glancing at her earpiece. Director of NASA on line 2. He needs confirmation on the AI calibration. Mom gasped, almost inaudibly. Yes, Mom, I said. Those computers in my old bedroom? They're running trajectory algorithms on deep space satellites now. I gestured to the monitors. Live feeds rolled across them. Defense installations, telecommunications hubs, a laboratory in Sweden where our AI assisted in cancer research. All of it runs on our framework. Dad stumbled back and slumped beside Mom. His lips parted, but no words came. My daughter, he finally whispered, owns everything you see, I said. This building, that firm, even the coffee you spilled. The cafe, Mom blinked. You own it. I own the entire chain, I replied. The lobby was packed now. Dozens of employees stared, watching the historic law firm dissolve into a new identity. Every etched nameplate, every branded folder, was being replaced by the Fairchild Technologies emblem. Your offices are being repurposed, I told the group. Upper floors will now house our AI division. I turned to Dad. Your corner office? That's becoming the quantum computing lab. But that's my office, he murmured. It's been mine for 20 years. Was Dad. Past tense. I let the moment settle. And no, you're not being fired, you're being reassigned. To what? He asked, barely above a whisper. A learning position, I said, so you can finally understand what your lazy daughter's been building. Outside, news tickers scrolled beneath live footage of the takeover. And I hadn't even started my press conference. If you've been holding your breath with Rachel, just wait until her empire faces its first real threat. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter in this quiet storm of power, legacy, and poetic justice. My face lit up every major screen in the city, paired with headlines like Tech's New Queen and Fairchild Technologies, the silent giant rises. But none of it compared to what was still to come. The real trimmer hadn't hit yet. As my parents stood motionless in what was now my lobby, the next phase rolled in. Leah approached with another tablet, her timing as impeccable as ever. Miss Fairchild, shall we proceed with the global acquisitions overview? Global? Thomas Caldwell asked, stepping forward, his complexion ghost white. What global acquisitions? The monitors flickered, replacing financial graphs with a glowing world map. Thousands of red dots lit up like a constellation, each one a company, facility, or parcel of land, now owned by Fairchild Technologies. While you were all laughing at your unemployed daughter, I said, pacing to the center of the room, I was quietly building the most powerful private tech consortium in modern history. A notification buzzed. Leah glanced at it. The president's on hold, she said, regarding the defense systems agreement. I took the call on speaker. Yes, Madam President, the integration is complete. The Pentagon will have full AI access by noon. A gasp swept the room. No, I added, the Chinese haven't cracked our encryption. Yet. Mom's knees buckled slightly. For 2 years she'd told her book club I was finding myself. Now I was coordinating national security with the Oval Office. That's impossible, Brian murmured. You couldn't have done all this in just 2 years? I gave a soft smile. 18 months, actually. The remaining 6 I spent acquiring real estate, including your family's favorite spots. Gasps erupted again as the screens transitioned. A Hamptons estate, the Aspen Chalet, a cliffside villa in Sicily, all once proudly owned by the Patel family, now stamped with my logo. Last night, I told the hushed lobby, my father threw my bags into the rain because I was unemployed. Anyone want to guess my net worth today? Leah tapped once and the number filled the screens. Audible gasps broke the silence. Thomas clutched his son's arm for balance. That's more than the GDP of... Someone began. Most countries, I cut in. Combined. I turned to Leah. Let's finish the reveal. The map changed again. A banner scrolled beneath it. Fairchild Technologies now holds controlling interest in 17 global banking institutions. We process over 60% of the world's digital financial transactions. Dad finally spoke. But those computers in your room. Quantum processors, I confirmed. Each one worth more than this building. And to think, they called me lazy. That tangle of wires you used to complain about, I said, glancing toward the wall of displays, it's now the backbone of global cybersecurity. The monitor shifted again, revealing real-time feeds from Fairchild Technologies hubs across the globe. Quantum computing labs, AI research facilities, aerospace command centers. In each, thousands of employees worked on systems reshaping every major industry. Miss Fairchild? Another executive approached me, tablet in hand. The Space Force General is requesting final approval on the Mars Colony AI systems. Mars Colony? Mom squeaked, her voice barely above a whisper. Turned to her. Remember when you said I was wasting time reading science fiction? She nodded faintly. We launch next month, I said with a smile. Want to see the designs? I tapped the console beside me. The lobby's newly installed holographic projector powered on, displaying a rotating 3D model of the Mars settlement, habitats, transport systems, energy grids, and agriculture units. It shimmered in the air above the stunned crowd. Trillions in investment. Humanity's future, my unemployed daydream, made real. By the way, Dad, I said, turning, that retirement fund you've been bragging about, you might want to check who's managing it now. He pulled out his phone with trembling hands. The Fairchild Technologies logo filled the screen. You manage my retirement? I manage everyone's retirement, I replied. We handle 70% of all global pension assets, including Caldwell and Pierce's employee plans. Brian tried to regain control. Well, surely the Bar Association is now a subsidiary of Fairchild Legal, I interrupted, along with every major law firm in the U.S. Remember when you said I'd never make it in legal tech? The screens switched again, showing a graph. Traditional legal services in decline, while Fairchild's AI-driven legal automation soared past them. Document review, contract analysis, compliance replaced by the AI system you mocked. I turned toward Mom. Those society friends you said I embarrassed you in front of? Tell them to check their phones. As if on cue, every device in the lobby buzzed. Breaking news lit up their screens. Fairchild Technologies, CEO, named world's youngest trillionaire. Rachel Fairchild reshapes global industry. I own their companies, I said quietly. Their homes. Their banks. That country club you clung to, I bought it. Last week. Along with every luxury resort in the portfolio. Dad sat down again, his hands visibly shaking. Rachel, we never knew. No, I said, you didn't, because you never asked. Then, the final blow. The exterior screens changed once more. Fairchild Technologies acquires entire Caldwell business empire, including overseas holdings. I turned to Brian. Remember that junior partner title you used to flaunt? He didn't speak. I own your title now, I said, smiling. In fact, I own every title in this building. Sunlight struck the new signage outside. Fairchild Technologies Tower. Global Headquarters, AI Division. I faced the lobby. Shall we review the new organizational structure? I glanced at my father. You'll want to take notes. Your performance review is next week. And as the transition briefing began, I watched their world unravel, only to be rebuilt around mine. This was only the beginning. If you've followed me this far, I want to hear from you. Tell me, have you ever been underestimated, pushed aside by the very people who were supposed to believe in you? Drop a comment below and let me know what you would have said walking out of that lobby. Your support reminds me I'm not alone in this journey. And if there's one lesson I've learned, it's this: never wait for approval to chase what sets your soul on fire. Build in silence. Rise on your own terms. And when the world finally looks up, let them see your name in gold.